Hi, I'm Alan Sagano. I'm the president of ADS Consulting Group, and thanks a lot for listening to the success story on how we devised a disaster recovery solution for a wholesale distribution company. So, one of our clients had some major concerns about recovering from a major or even a minor disaster, and really the question that they had in their mind is they really didn't have any idea if they could even recover from a disaster, let alone how long it would take. And we're in the Los Angeles area, so obviously earthquakes are probably the biggest concern. So we decided to use Veeam backup and replication, and we replicated their data from their office in Los Angeles to a disaster recovery site in St. Louis, which is where they have one of their satellite offices. So we installed, in order to make the replication complete within a reasonable time, we installed a dedicated layer 2 connection to replicate the data. The line speed was 100 megabits per second. So the servers were placed. The other thing that we do when architecting a DR solution is we try to place the servers in a dedicated subnet. And then what that allows us to do is, instead of changing the IP addresses of the servers during a failover, we actually just forklift the entire subnet over to the DR site, so the server IP addresses don't change. We found in a lot of our testing that it's the lesser of two evils. Changing the IP address of a server can sometimes freak it out big time, and that's really true for things like domain controllers and other maybe custom applications that have hard-coded IP addresses, which of course you're not supposed to do, but stuff happens. So the other thing that we did is we created a disaster recovery playbook so that the disaster recovery failover could be completed by multiple people. As a matter of fact, we retained a consulting firm in St. Louis and ran through the disaster recovery playbook with them as well. So in case we got hit by a truck or something like that, or we're out of pocket on the LA side, the people in St. Louis could successfully complete the failover. So the way to do this test, unfortunately, we find with a lot of DR tests is a lot of companies don't even have a DR plan, let alone test it. So in this case, the first thing we usually do for disaster recovery testing is we perform what we call a bubble test. And basically all a bubble test does is it tries to start the replicated VMs, but it doesn't expose them to the outside world. In other words, they live in a bubble and they kind of just talk amongst themselves. So that's the first test that we do. It does a couple of things. One is it makes sure that the proper VMs are replicated, so we have the correct VMs that they're replicating, and that the replication was successful, and the VMs can actually start up and communicate with each other. Usually that takes 2 or 3 times to get correct. And then after we perform a bubble test, then we do what's called a non-bubble test. So after a successful bubble test, then we do a non-bubble test, and this is a little bit more complicated test because in addition to doing what we did in the bubble test where we light up the VMs and have them talk amongst themselves, we expose those VMs to the outside world. So we actually will shut down the production servers, fail over to the DR site, and this is usually done over a weekend, so it's not disruptive to the company. Then we'll expose the replicated VMs in the DR site to the internet and any public-facing servers, make sure that credit card authorization goes well, any public servers are still accessible, change all the routes, make sure that everybody can still access the servers. We also test mail flow and any other external services. And again, a non-bubble test takes usually about 2 to 3 times to get right as well. And then as a final part of the disaster recovery implementation, we perform what we call the ultimate DR test. And this is actually to fail over production to the DR site and then run there for a week, reverse the replication flow, and then the week after that fail back from the disaster recovery site back to production. Sometimes we've seen people are so focused with if they can fail over to the DR site, once they get there, they have no way of failing back. It's like climbing Mount Everest and then not being able to get off the mountain, which kind of could be a bad thing. So this is the ultimate test, and when we do this, we are very, very confident, and the client was, of course, as well, that this is absolute proof that they could successfully fail over and fail back. So with this test, they were very, very comfortable that the DR plan would work and that it was fully functional. So, how can we help your company to create your own IT success story? Please contact me. My name is Alan Sugano. I'm the president of ADS Consulting Group. My phone number is 310-541-8584. I'm at extension 100, and you can use the Find This Person Now feature to have the call forwarded to my cell phone, or you can email me, and my email address is asugano@adscon.com. Thanks a lot, and we'll hear from you soon.